What's up, everybody? Welcome to First Seed Fantasy. I am Kyle Krajewski, joined by my good friends Mike, Zach, and Dante. Guys, welcome to Week 7. What's up? How are you?
Week 7, man. Ready to go.
Doing great. Dante hates life.
Dante's trying to watch every single sports event that's currently taking place. And I can't blame him. There's a lot of good sports on right now. But he's excited about the return of
Game
basketball.
day, baby. Come on.
Huge Detroit Pistons guy.
I don't even know what to say. I'm not a Detroit Pistons guy. Not at all.
All right, we're not here for basketball. We're here for football, and more specifically, fantasy football. So to kind of tee us off, we've got our boom bust of the week, our kind of variation of start sits, because you can't sit everybody that we say is going to bust, and you want to start everybody we're going to say is boom. It's more just who to set your high expectations and your low expectations for. So boom bust. Mike, start us off. Who you got?
All right, fellas. Week 7, I'm kicking it off. My boom of the week is going to be Kenyon Drake. This is a running back that kind of just got signed about 2 weeks ago. Literally was even saying in interviews he didn't think he was going to have a career anymore. He comes to the Ravens, has a huge day against the New York Football Giants that actually ended up beating them anyways. So yeah, Kenyon's going to be my boom this week. I really like the matchup for him coming up here. He's going to be playing a Cleveland Browns defense that has given up 25 points to Ramondre last week, and then 24, I believe, or 35 to Austin Eckler the week before. So great team against the run. I expect JK to still be at that not 100% role. And I expect big things from Kenyon Drake this week, so he is going to be a flex play for me in a few leagues, and I'm definitely high on him. So this is my boom for the week compared to my bust of the week, who I will not be playing in any leagues, and that is Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt, I'm going to be sitting in Week 7. He had his worst week of the season last week, only 4 carries for 12 yards. He didn't do much. He wasn't really involved. And I'm pretty sure they also lost that game to the Patriots as well, if I'm not mistaken. So they play Baltimore this week, and it's just not a great matchup for Kareem. I don't really like to look at last year's stats too much, but because this is a divisional matchup with the Ravens this week, I did go back and I wanted to take a look just because I was curious. He put up a solid 2 points against the Ravens in Week 12 last year, and then another solid 3.8 in the matchup 2 weeks after that, after a bye. So I don't know if it's just something with the Browns and, totally different team, so I wouldn't put too much stock into that. But this is a guy that I feel like is kind of taking a backseat to Nick Chubb. I think it's going to be a huge Nick Chubb week on the ground. And this is a guy that's kind of heading in a downward direction, doesn't have a good history against the team. I'm sitting Kareem Hunt. I would gladly play Kenyon Drake above him this week in Week 7.
Beautiful.
Kenyon. I like Kenyon. I mean, he's on a great rushing offense, so the upside's there for that. And Kareem's someone that he's not going to really show his true value until Deshaun comes back, in my opinion, because of the passing ability that he provides. So as for Kareem, I still have hold him to a high pedigree in terms of a full season, but for right now, he's going to have his rocky games because, again, they're just a run-heavy offense, and Jacoby's not Deshaun. So,
yeah, to comment on Kareem Hunt, it's weird because you would think as kind of the receiving back in this backfield that he'd be more involved in negative game scripts, but it's almost the opposite. And when Cleveland's playing from behind like they were this past week, Kareem is invisible. When you'd think he'd be getting a few dink and dunk passes here and there. But realistically, I mean, looking at his upcoming weeks, Baltimore, Cincy, and then a bye, and then Miami, Buffalo, Tampa Bay.
He comes back. Deshaun comes back for Buffalo, right?
Yeah, no, it's Houston.
Houston, okay. Damn.
Right.
But either way, that stretch of games looks miserable. And I think you can kind of buckle up and prepare to ride Kareem Hunt on your benches moving forward, because that's going to be a really bumpy ride.
Yeah, and it's definitely the receptions. I mean, Brissett threw the ball 45 times, and Hunt only saw one target. So, I mean,
it's gross.
It's not someone I'm touching right now.
No, not at all. I'm with you. Moving on to my boom bust picks. Starting with my boom, is good old. Of course, it's not spelled that way. Ezekiel Elliott kind of started on a downhill trend, but I mean, he's got quite possibly the easiest rush defense this week in Detroit. I think they're averaging, what is the stat? 155 yards and about 2 touchdowns to opposing running backs. We saw Ramondre before the bye week have a fantastic 19.5 performance. And I quite honestly think Zeke is probably the better runner, and pair him. Quite honestly, let's make it a combo: Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard. I think this is just going to be a defense in Detroit that is not going to stop them. I assume as a Lions fan that they made some adjustments during the bye week, but I don't know how you can return starting as the worst defense and come back and being the best. So I really think that rush defense is going to be a point of attack here for this Dallas offense. So yeah, Zeke and Pollard, fire them up with confidence. And then my bust of the week is our good friend James Robinson, who has just almost been non-existent, and I think he will be very non-existent this upcoming week against the Giants. I mean, we've seen his usage just continue to drop. I know it went up from the past week or two, but I think it's not at the usage we want out of a guy that had a fantastic 3-week stretch to start the season. Not only that, but the Giants are not a bad defense for running backs. I think on average, they're averaging about less than 20 fantasy points to opposing running backs. And in a split backfield, that doesn't spell excitement, especially for the guy who is being used less. So James Robinson on the downhill, not excited for him, especially not this week in a game that they probably won't need him.
Are you low on Robinson because of the matchup or because ETN's on the rise, or both?
Both. It's like a perfect storm of both. I think ETN is going to be the primary back moving forward. I mean, Robinson, 12 touches or 13 touches isn't something to like glance over, but it's not exciting to see that the other running back is being used more. Add in the fact that the Giants actually have a pretty solid rush defense. So yeah, perfect storm of both. But I guess moving forward entirely, it's the ETN usage.
Yeah, and just a quick point on that. I won't speak too much on it. It seems like his numbers are really good when the Jaguars were supposedly winning games and were going to be like the number 2 or 3 seed coming out of the AFC. Everybody thought they looked fantastic to start the year, and they did. And then they just started falling off. So game script really isn't helping his situation out. It's more towards ETN. So, yeah, definitely staying away from that team.
Not exciting. All right, Zach, kick us off.
All right, let me hop in here. I will start off with my boom of the week, who is going to be Mr. Jeffrey Wilson Jr., Senior? I think he's a junior. We'll call him a junior. Jeff Wilson Jr., the running back for the San Francisco 49ers. He kind of burnt some people last week, and I totally get that. He had a juicy matchup against Atlanta, who albeit has a pretty good run defense. You still expected them to, overall, they don't have a fantastic defense. So you expected him to be able to put up some points against them last week, but that just wasn't the case. You can see there with the big 0.5. But that was the case for the whole entire 49ers run game. Tyron Price only logged 1 offensive snap. Tevin Coleman, who put up 20 the previous week, was non-existent again. I think he put up 3 fantasy points. It was just not a game for San Francisco running backs. And you know what? That's okay, because this week it makes up for it. And I think that Kansas City is the perfect matchup to get Jeff Wilson back in your lineup and have some faith in him. Kansas City is 28th against run offenses this season. So we saw last week they gave up a ton of yards to Devin Singletary, especially early in the game when the Bills went into kind of I don't want to call it a negative game script because they were, in competition the whole game. But when the Bills found more success in the pass game, they went away from Singletary a little bit. But the 49ers love to run the ball, and I expect them to run the ball from the beginning of the game to the end of the game with Jeff Wilson. So I really, really like Jeff Wilson. I expect them to find the end zone this week as well. And I think that you can see there 84, 75, 74. The 120 is kind of the outlier, but I expect them to be somewhere around 70 yards with the touchdown for 13 to 15 total fantasy points. So I know it's not necessarily as sexy as some of the other running backs that you might see in the top 10, the top 24, but I think that he's going to have just a fine week, and you're going to be happy playing him as your RB2. And then that kind of segues me into my bust. And my bust is going to be, I just completely blanked on who it is going to be Juju Smith-Schuster, a guy on the other side of this matchup who is coming off of a fantastic week. He was really heavily targeted against Buffalo, but Buffalo is known to play a zone defense, which tends to have a lot of holes in the middle of the field, which is where Juju kind of makes his living. He's not necessarily a deep route ball guy, but that's not going to be the case with the San Francisco 49ers. Fred Warner is known to be one of the best coverage linebackers in that middle of the field area. So I look for a lot of those underneath routes that he caught last week to not be there this week. And I expect him to, I guess, negatively regress back to those 9, 10, 6 4-point performances that we've seen in the past where he's just not consistently getting the ball. So he is my sit of the week or my bust of the week, just strictly based off of the letdown coming in from this past week.
Beautifully put.
Love it.
Dante, let's hear it.
All right. Brian Robinson, Brian Many Men Robinson. That is going to be my boom for this upcoming week. I'm higher on him on non-PPR formats because, as you can see, he does not get a catch. But 17 for 60 yards and a touchdown, lovely. He's going against Green Bay, which is known to be giving up a lot of points to running backs. The Green Bay gave up 157 rushing yards to the Jets when they played. The Giants had 89 rushing yards, and New England had 152 and a touchdown. So Green Bay hasn't shown an ability to stop the run in that regard. Carson Wentz is going to be out for the foreseeable future. So I expect them with Taylor Heineke to have a run-heavy approach. And I should see he's projected, 8.9 points. So I expect him to exceed that pretty easily. Moving on to David Montgomery for my bust. While Brian Robinson has a great matchup, David Montgomery does not. He's going against the Patriots. Going back to last week, he had 15 for 67 rushing yards and then had a catch for 13 yards. But this week he's going against the Patriots, and that is probably one of the, if not the worst matchups to go against, especially when your QB sucks like Justin Fields. The Patriots haven't given up a rushing touchdown this season, so that alone just makes me want to fade him. Last week they gave up against the Browns. Nick Chubb only had 8 points. So Nick Chubb is arguably the RB1 this season so far. So if Nick Chubb only got 8 points with that offensive line, I just don't feel comfortable with David Montgomery, especially we know Justin Fields, the game script, you can predict it already. He's going to have 2 picks. They're going to be down early. And they're just going to be forced. David Montgomery is their best offensive weapon, so the Patriots are going to scheme around that. That's all I got for Montgomery.
Love it. Don't play Montgomery. It's a hard D on the other side. You don't want to have him going up.
Be careful with those hard Ds, definitely.
Yeah.
especially in an offense that just constantly runs it.
Yeah.
So that's the wordplay
Mike.
there, guys. Come on.
Mike, I'm hitting you up. Lock
You
of the
know
week.
it's that time. Lock of the week, baby. We are going with the Arizona Cardinals -2 tomorrow night. D-Hop is back. I'm booking it. It's going to be a huge Kyler week. He's putting Call of Duty down for the week. I got a lot of faith in them. -2 Cardinals. Let's lock it.
That's right. He doesn't have a weekend to binge Call of Duty.
And it's not double XP, so he's got no incentive to be on there. So
It's a dub.
that's
Victor.
top tier betting analysis for you right there.
Whatever D Hop's catches are to you, like just bet the over for that too.
Oh, another
10
lock.
plus, unless
Okay.
it's 10 plus or something like that, or 20 plus, like you got to bet the over on that for D Hop.
Okay.
He has no one else.
We
No
got
one else
cheap
plays.
locks for the Arizona game. Damn, do we want to add any for this one?
None for me. None for me.
That's a that's a
I'll
blind
pass.
lock too. I don't even know what the number is, and I'm like over it. The house, the mortgage. Just don't put in the comments next week telling me you lost your house. That's all. Just don't want to hear that.
You better blank out your Twitter handle, man. Never know.
Oh, Dante.
Listen,
Uh-oh,
I'm willing to
Mr.
bet.
@bot7560. They're coming for you.
Thank you for making it known.
All right. Let's wrap it up there. Fellas, it's a great week. It always is. But
Always.
I can't leave without mentioning our sponsor. Good old Underdog. Give it a shot. I'll cover up Zach's face real quick with the overlay real quick. Jump in, play with the player props, over-unders, hop into a weekly draft matches, draft a team for a week. I think currently they have NBA matchups are live. NBA season's here. Draft a team, draft a weekly team. You aren't committed to a team for a season. You can draft a team individually any given week. And I think in a few weeks they're gonna have best ball, like second half best ball coming back. You can party it up, but use code First Seed, get 100% deposit match up to $100. That is essentially you put in $100, you get an extra $100. You now have $200 to play with, and you only put in $100. Play around, have fun, enjoy it, win some money. It's a blast, especially if you're starting to hate your fantasy football team like Mike is. It's a great way to kind of rejuvenate and give you some new life and new love into the fantasy football season.
Exactly.
It's lovely. Give it a shot. Have some fun because fantasy football should be fun. Fellas, another week 7, and luckily we don't have the Broncos on primetime. I don't think, at least.
Thank God.
Well, Mondays I think is trash though. I
It's
don't
not
know.
the Broncos.
No, it's the Bears. That's what it is. It's the Bears. That's why I was.
Oh, yeah,
We
Bears
don't get
Pats.
the Broncos, we get the Bears. Like that's the way it works.
Bears Pats.
That's rough. What about Sunday night? Does anybody know the Sunday night this week?
I'm pulling it right now. It's the Dolphins and the Steelers. That's not bad.
Okay.
That's all right.
Okay.
Not
Not
bad.
terrible.
Serious?
They put the Broncos and the Jets at 4:05.
It's going to wind up being America's game, and Fox is going to make us all watch it anyways. But either way, another week, no Broncos primetime. We're excited. Primetime games are meh. Overall, scoring's down in fantasy. I don't know if you guys saw that stat, but
Yes.
it's rough, but we're here to help you manage it, make your way through, and win your weeks. And fellas, I'll see you next week.
All
See ya.
right. Midway point in the season. Good luck, guys.